Season 2 of the Pat and JT podcast.
Oh man, I'm here at last. The best time, always gonna be the best. Come on!
Exclusively on the Hurrdat Media Network.
I think to say that it's chilly willy outside is an understatement.
You know what? Okay, before we get started, first I want to welcome Trish into the podcast, Trish Eklund. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for
having me. You were here early on in our first season.
So about 2 years ago.
Yeah, you were like episode 1 something of season uno. It seems like a lifetime ago.
That's what it feels
does.
like.
Yeah.
Your first book came out in 2018, right? So it was not long after that you were on with us. No, we're in our studio, and just for posterity's sake, whatever, just for the books. It's freaking cold.
It is.
And
It is.
this is like everybody else knows. My furnace went out, and over the weekend it was glitching on me just a little bit, and then and so I woke up this morning. I do have 2 furnaces in my house. I don't know why the people did it that way, but God bless
goodness.
them.
Yeah.
So the downstairs was still working, but where I was sleeping, it was 59 when I woke up this morning.
Yeah, it's insane.
I almost didn't get out of bed. I was like,
I wouldn't have either.
What is going on? And then I had my phone was beeping at me because, of course, everything's connected. My poor furnace was like, help me.
Yeah, and you're sleeping through it.
I did.
Did it just quit, or is it like gasping, limping?
It quit.
It's done.
It glitched. I got like a couple of warnings. I got warnings actually last week, but then it would say whatever it was had been, the alert had been, I don't know, figured out or whatever, remedied, something like that. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, it's taking care of it. It's healing itself. Right. But you'd think it'd be like your vehicle when the light comes on to tell you to get it serviced. Mm-hmm. You would think it would be like, you might want to call someone.
That would be nice.
But eventually the check engine light always goes off. It has for me all the time.
Because it finally goes out.
Mm-hmm.
Finally,
it finally burns out. Yeah.
If you wait long enough.
If you wait long enough, it'll just go away.
There's only so much little furnace can do, though, man. When it's -8 or whatever it is, it's only so much it can. Even if it has a friend in the house, a buddy helping him, there's only so much it can do.
I only ask for 65. That's all I ask for.
Yeah, but when it's -8, that's what we're asking for too. Is 64, I think, and
it's like insane. So anyway, I have not been warm yet today. And I got here and it was 66 in this room, or in the office when we got here, because apparently we were being conscientious over the weekend.
And I don't know why. I don't ever touch it. Did you adjust it? Because I didn't adjust it. I think it just decided it is like, F you guys. I'm not working this hard.
It's like, you're not here?
Yeah.
Forget it. Anyway, Trish, the reason why we have Trish back in, because you did have your first book out. Now you've got another one, and I shouldn't say your first book, because you have several other books as well, but this kind of book. Mm-hmm. So the first one, and I wrote it down so I got them right because I know they're very similar. Nebraska, it's the Nebraska Decay, and what is it? Nebraska, Homestead, what is it? Which one is it? I'm going to find it. Abandoned Nebraska. Mm-hmm. There we go. Echoes of Our Past.
Yes.
That was the first one. And then this is Abandoned Farmhouses and Homesteads of Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So tell us about your book.
Well, I really just am fascinated by old farms and homesteads. So I found myself exploring more and more of those. And
there's a lot of them in Nebraska.
There are.
I mean, there's some in Omaha. Mm-hmm. Like, isn't there one like on 144th and Pacific?
I think so.
There's a farmhouse.
Probably. And you wonder, like, why is it still there? There's all these developments around it and big houses around it.
Or they're building around it, and all the trees are still there.
And you just picture this, like some family just doesn't want to sell until they get the right price, or who knows why it's still there.
Exactly. This book that you did, and I'm just going to jump right in because the very first story will grab you. The very first story in there, and it's called it's the Warner Bonwell House, right? Because it's been empty since 1978, if I put all the numbers correctly that you had in your story. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
I know.
Why?
Is there family, or is it?
I don't think so. The farmer that owns the property now, he just farms around it. So
that's interesting.
Like, why would you would think that he sees that land as something valuable to either grow more stuff on, farm on? Why would you just keep going around the house?
I don't know. And a lot of them are that way. They'll look abandoned, but then you'll see a farmer in the field.
Yeah. So. And somebody owns the land that it's sitting on. That house, and just if you want to just tell a little bit about that house in particular, because I think that's just the neatest story.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite. I was driving to go to something else and happened to see it on the top of a hill. So I stopped, and I had my youngest teenage daughter with me. Well, I was just going to take some pictures of the base from the bottom of the hill, and then I saw a farmer on his ATV, and he said, "Would you like to know the history?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he said,
But first he thought you were with the government.
"Oh yeah." He said, "Are you the Douglas? Are you the county assessor?" I was like, "No."
Is that good or bad? Would that give me more access?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe.
I thought, because this is out in the Sandhills, so he doesn't see a lot of people out there, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so
I'm
the
sure.
first thing is somebody from the government. It's got to be
With a camera.
with a camera.
And then he's like, "Hop on the ATV. I'll take you inside." Well, I left my phone in the car and my teenager, so I was gone for like.
That's like the beginning of a Dateline. You need to be careful,
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I mean, what?
Yeah.
You are a trusting person.
Oh my goodness.
She called my husband and was like, "Mom vanished." And he said,
Oh my God.
and he goes, "She's fine. She's probably up there
Taking pictures.
taking pictures."
Okay, no problem. Oh my God. That did sound like the intro to a
It
bad
did.
movie.
So I left my phone, and everybody at home's going, "Why would you leave your phone? Why did you on the
Don't
ATV?"
open the door.
I know. Don't say hello.
Right. So he drove you up to the house and inside. That's pretty awesome.
Did he know the family himself, or just knew of them?
I think it was, well, he might have, because he was talking about how when the telephones were party lines, this woman was one of the town gossips, and they would sit there and listen in on each other's
I would
calls.
totally would have. If I was around during the party line days, I would have sat there the entire time.
Without a doubt.
Taking my and because I remember those old phones that had the earpiece and then the speaker. I would have, before I got on, I would have undone the handle and taken the speaker, not the speaker part, the microphone part out of
There
it,
you go.
so they couldn't hear me, and I could have heard everything.
Just listen to everything.
Oh,
And you
it'd
had
been
the
awesome.
best. She had
Like
the best.
Mrs. Olson.
That's
Yes,
it.
totally.
Right? Her
Yep.
running the telephones.
Yep.
The worst person on earth to be running a phone bank.
Totally.
But which I thought,
Yeah.
okay, that's kind of, so she's listening in. She liked to get the town gossip.
Yeah, the farm, it was first homesteaded by her first husband Arnold's parents, and then a lot of the families, they passed these places down, and so then he got married to Rose and moved her into the original house, and she was from Lincoln and wasn't too keen on farm life, and
Oh my
then
gosh.
there was a tornado and it wiped everything out. So then Arnold, her husband, went to her family home and measured it and built an exact replica of her family home so she would feel more comfortable.
Wow, what a great husband.
It's seriously.
Lord.
And you should see, he built that. That's
Yeah.
I glossed over that part because the inside of the house still looks
It's
really
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah.
Built-ins, wood,
Lead crystal.
gorgeous.
Jeez.
I mean, like, even the curtains look like,
I know.
So does somebody go in there still and take care of the house, or is it just they just let
It's
it go?
just there.
yeah, some of the ceilings kind of like not the paper I want to say, but there's
It's
some
like
paper
peeling. Mhm.
peeling.
Wow, that's
But there's-
awesome.
But all the windows, it didn't appear they were broken.
There's like
there may be.
one that's broken and boarded up. Because I almost thought it wasn't abandoned, because
Yeah.
that'll happen too.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband and I have a game where we play abandoned or
Just
asshole.
Or not
Yeah.
taking it.
You would be fun to go on a road trip with. Abandon her shithole. That's going to be the name of our podcast today, too.
Write that down.
I don't need to write that down. I remember that
You'll
one.
remember, but that's hilarious because you talked about going on road trips with your wife, and his road trips involve that'd be a good place to hide a body.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It fits right in.
we play that one, and guess which car has the drugs is also a fun one.
And I came across one time. It was this tiny shack, probably about the size of this room. And it was a shithole. And so I was taking pictures. I thought it was abandoned. And this dude comes walking out. And I was like,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was just a shithole. I mean,
No, I thought it was abandoned.
I thought it was abandoned.
It
This
is
is a shithole.
Okay.
That's the best road game ever.
it is. It really
How
is.
fun is that?
So I wasn't sure if it was an abandoned house or a shithole.
There you go.
So
got it. Okay. So yeah, because that house, when you look at it from the outside, it definitely needs a coat of paint, without a doubt. But it really doesn't, and overgrown. That's probably the biggest, box to check off. That it's completely overgrown. You can't see the windows, but the inside was amazing.
it was.
The built-ins were unbelievable.
And then all the counters were super short because she was only like 5 feet tall.
Oh my God.
So he custom built everything for her.
Could be the best husband on the planet ever.
I know.
Oh my God. And then he passed away like in the 50s, was it?
I
or
think
something? You might have,
so.
and I can't remember because I know she passed away in 1978. That's where I jotted that down. So the house was empty after that.
Yeah.
And he had children from a previous marriage. Is that correct?
No,
Or was it?
I didn't see any children, and I think
They
my
didn't have
stupid
any
reader's
kids. That's all right.
No.
Mine are right here. That's why I'm having such a hard time reading because I don't put them on. What am I looking at?
Just in general with abandoned properties of any kind, whether it's an amusement park or a mall or a house, why the person who owns or entity that owns the property, why they just let it sit there when it could either be it's like they're just losing money letting the houses sit there. Either sell the house, sell the property, get rid of it, do something else with it instead of just letting it and just be dilapidated. I don't understand that.
I know.
It's crazy. And the farms, when you think about a farmer, if he's got, and I'm sure he has more than probably 340 acres, so to speak. I'm sure he has a lot of acres.
Yeah.
And so that little piece probably isn't worth the money that it would cost to tear it down and get rid of it.
No.
To turn it into a little square that he can farm.
And so he had it on the burn list and for the fire department because you can get on if you want them to burn your house, they'll practice. And
Yes.
so it was on the burn list, and then he was coming out of the store or something, and someone stopped him and said, would you consider selling it? And if we moved the house, and so someone wanted to buy it and then have it moved. And he said, my worst fear was I was going to drive back and see a plume of smoke and the firefighters burning it.
Right.
When they wanted to
Like,
sell,
don't sell, don't want to go to sell.
My
that.
dad used to sell or move chicken coops and like sheds when I was little. Like anytime we'd be out, he'd be out hunting and he'd see a shed. He'd always go up to that. Any chance you'd sell that shed if I move it? We have probably 4 or 5 sheds that have been moved from all over the state.
Honestly,
and moving him and my and Greg and my uncles and whatever. Just watching those guys talk about a shit show. Those guys trying to get a shed up on a trailer and move it from Lashera back to Waterloo. Oh my gosh!
I remember seeing some pretty big houses. And even my folks moved to Quonset once, moved it. It was huge. And they had to take it down. They had to take down power lines. They had to, doing all that stuff to move that house. And out in Hastings, I remember watching once they were doing that because out there at the base that's out there, there was like the commander's home. They got rid of some of the homes that were out there. And so these were really nice, but they had to be moved. And I remember them buying them and then taking them down the highway. It's crazy.
It's a cool
imagine.
process when you use a team of people to do it, not just you and your couple uncles that don't work that weekend. And it could bring your rope and gloves, boys. Let's go. It's a cool process.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something. And that whole house, did it have any outbuildings or just the house?
It did.
Yeah.
But he was using those. So a lot of the farmers will use the barn or outbuildings.
Have you ever run into a situation where you've talked to someone about or been on a property or want to get on a property and somebody's like, get out of here. You can't be on my property. I don't want to talk about it. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we were driving in Arizona and it looked like, I don't know if it was like a camp at one time, but there were a bunch of little cottages. And I went down there and there were guys working and he was like, let me get my boss. And the guy goes, nope. And he wouldn't even talk
creepy.
about it.
Any haunted experiences or situations?
Well, let's continue with this story.
Yes.
The first story in her book. This again, going back to, and I can't see it because I have my glasses on, Warren Bonwell House. I should put them on. Okay, yeah. Because you took some pictures and you even made note of it. That one picture in particular caught your attention.
Yes, I was in there, and he left me alone in there for a little bit. And so I just, in passing, said, Rose, this house is just beautiful. Arnold, such an amazing guy. Well, and I didn't think too much of it, but I got home and I started looking through the pictures, and
You show Pat this because this is just the neatest.
see it.
Go on over there. This is just the neatest thing, and you look at it, and then you realize that you were standing there by yourself, like you said, and he was away from you, and you're not, so you could be caught in the reflection. But there is a reflection.
Let's see.
And that's the picture. That's the reflection of someone, right?
That's weird.
isn't it?
And like you said, it looks like a woman possibly with her hair back, maybe in a bun or
Like hunched over.
yeah.
Ooh.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's really cool. Got goosies.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah,
I just
we gotta.
love that.
I'm gonna take a picture of that
Yeah.
and put it on our Facebook page. That's
We can grab
That's
it.
pretty
We'll
freaky.
get that because that is just the neatest shot. And probably other ones too have been a little haunted sometimes. Yeah.
And we have some activity frequently in our house, and so
So
In your
somebody
house?
backpacked home with you?
Seriously, somebody jumped on the back of that ATV with you. Like, what
Yeah.
activity do you have in your house?
voices, like we'll hear each other. It'll be in one of our voices, and at one point my husband and I even heard Cammie's voice, my youngest daughter, and she wasn't home.
Oh, that's weird.
Like a parrot.
Yeah, that's really weird. That's creepy.
Yeah, and my husband has seen, he thought that it was her working at her desk by the window like this twice, and it wasn't. She was laying on her bed.
Huh. I'll be damned.
Oh my God. Have you ever seen the movie 1922?
I don't think so.
It'll make you think twice about jumping on the back of that ATV.
Okay.
I'm just gonna tell you right now.
Or any Dateline episode.
It takes
like we
place
said.
in Nebraska.
Really?
Yeah, 1922. So it's right
Ooh.
before and whatever the 20s, right? And they're on a farm out in the middle of nowhere, and she wants to move to Omaha because she's not happy being out in the country. I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay, I'll have to
But
watch it.
it's a Stephen King one, but it's not a typical Stephen King one. But it's like, oh my God. Talking about outbuildings too, I'm sure another reason some of these buildings get left up is because there are, what do they call them? Cisterns, or wells, other things that are dug out.
Yeah.
And if you don't know it's there or didn't know a house was there, that could be a real problem if they don't fill them up or.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing when I'm exploring. You have to be really careful of wells, and I'm waiting for the day that I fall through a floor or something.
Have you ever had any close calls?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. There used to be a house that was by us in Ashland, and it's kind of where the golf course is now, Iron Horse.
The Beedison.
Up in that, and actually, it was south of north of Beedison's, and there was an old farmhouse that was up on the hill just to the east of my house where we grew up. Our house where I grew up, whatever. I was only one kid. Anyway, I was the only one growing up. Anyway, this house was abandoned and it was up on the hill, and we'd go ride our horses up there and then go inside and snoop around. And you could go up the stairs, but when you got up the stairs, most of the floor was just the beams, right?
Yeah.
That was it, and you could see right through it. But it was fun just to nose around. And then there was a cellar outside that you could nose around in, and some canning jars were in there. The door had fallen
Creepy.
in. It was creepy, but
creepy.
you can help yourself to.
There was
because they leave things behind.
which I don't understand. That's what I don't get is that people just like deuce out, like see it and they leave whatever
Stuff.
Just
It's
stuff.
you know,
Right.
right? I mean,
But how many times have you been moving where you're like, this is BS? I'd rather leave half this stuff than go. And so these people are like,
Yeah.
they just literally
they
leave
just
stuff.
Leave
They
it.
don't
I
want
mean,
to do it. They don't
when
want
you
to deal
see
with it.
pictures, like you mentioned, malls, and there's chairs and a desk and a couple
Right.
potted plants, and it's like, couldn't you just made one more trip?
I know.
Yeah, or sold them. Like they didn't have a marketplace at the time. Put on
Well,
a marketplace.
it
Like
could
come on.
be.
There was a house off of Dodge. I think it was either 144 because everything's changed so much over there.
know.
132nd, 144th, 156. One of those intersections. But it was on and it's gone now. But it was on the northwest side of that whatever intersection that was. It was up on a hill, and I think it was 132nd. But when I was in high school, and it was a ranch that it was abandoned, and it was had a garage, attached garage. I mean, it was a probably 50s or 60s house, whatever. But it was completely abandoned, and it was one of the child in the family had committed suicide in the house, and the family just left. They just left everything from
Oh my gosh.
dishes, clothes.
wow.
Like they just didn't want to be in the house anymore. They left, the husband
Yeah.
and wife, and I think there was a younger child as well. Just left, and it was abandoned in that state for 15 years growing up. I mean, we would never go up to it, but you could go and you would see, I mean, everything was there. And the rumor was, and we never saw it, but that if you sometimes you could drive by and there'd be a light on in the house, which would be really freaky. But it's those are the stories. Sometimes you see these abandoned buildings and the stories behind them, you have no idea why they're abandoned.
No. And you're right. In Omaha city limits, I'd be curious of how many are just abandoned houses. Farmsteads, basically, because some of them are. There was one at 132nd and Fort, too. It was
I remember that one.
Northeast side of the road. And I used to drive by that every day on the way to work. I would go down that way. Yeah, and then one day it's like, oh my God, it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, the barn, fences, everything was just, I think it was 132nd and Fort, yeah. But oh my gosh, yeah, that's just got to be. Do people send you ideas of some, or
yeah, some, but I've gotten really good now at if I know I'm going somewhere, I'll look at Google Maps and try to find abandoned places, and I'll mark them, because you can usually tell, like, if the roof's dilapidated and it looks overgrown and stuff.
Yeah, or is it a shithole?
Sometimes it's a shithole.
sometimes. Let's talk about some of your other stuff too. You've got other books that are out there as well, and I hear you're working on a novel as well. And you wrote some young adult books. What are those? What do you got going on?
None of them have been published yet, and I'm hoping when I'm working on the third abandoned one, and it's abandoned farms in Kansas, and then I'm going to get back to the fiction stuff. But
I wish they could do. I don't mean to interrupt, but I just think of lately I've been hung up on Curiosity Stream, and you watch, like, they have old places, and they do, and the video is so cool, and then the stories behind it. That would be a really cool documentary.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that's one thing. I need to shoot more videos, because I know people, especially on social media, love
especially if you're just, when you're going into these houses that are, if you're by yourself or whatever, just walking through and just taking people through on that kind of that old little tour with you would be really cool. Yeah.
I'm just awkward on camera, so
you don't even have to just turn it the other way. We don't, because not that we don't want to see, but we want to see the abandoned stuff. Like, turn it the other way and just narrate it. And
but
talk about it.
hearing you talk about it makes all the difference, because you have a connection with those.
That's true.
Is there like a favorite that you've seen so far, one that, besides this first story in this second book, or a place that you haven't been to yet, or that you want to explore more?
There's one in here, the Kank House. And it's really neat. It's over 100 years old, and it only was in one family. And I did actually speak to the guy's wife, who he inherited it. And they tried to farm it, but it was just too much upkeep and wasn't.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's just sitting. And when I first saw it, it was all locked up and everything, and I'm looking in the windows, and you can see, like, jackets.
So creepy. You see jackets in there still?
Jackets hanging and a tea kettle on the stove, and I'm like,
shithole?
No, yeah.
Well, you got to wonder, like, again, was there anything in this first house? Was there anything still inside the house?
There was, like, a dead plant, and just some weird stuff in the kitchen, something about grandkids, but no furniture in that one. But this other one, it was full of stuff. And then the last couple times I've gone, people have broken into it. So it's wide open, and there's a mattress outside. And
that's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Critters. I noticed too in the book, you aren't real specific about where some of these houses are.
Yeah, and part of that is I worry about them being vandalized, and I don't want to.
I think it's a
have
great
that
idea.
on my
Exactly,
conscience.
exactly. Because there are heathens out there that can't wait to do something like that, or just want to go out for a scary night or something and then break out windows.
Yeah. Where on social media can we follow you and see some of these pictures and get your book?
It's Abandoned, Forgotten, Decayed is my website, and then I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I try Twitter, but there's just too many things.
I know. It is. It's a lot. It's like I can do one well.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else is just a mess. And I'm like,
Yeah, right.
just every once in a while, I kind of like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. Just want to check in. That was it. I don't really.
Well, I
hang out
I
there.
definitely have to take a picture of that ghost
Yeah.
shadow and put it up on our Facebook page. If you're not on there, it's Pat and JT. It'll be up there by the time we post this. It'll be on our Facebook page.
And where they can get the book?
You can. It's not technically available till the 22nd.
Okay.
But you can get it on our Arcadia website. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles.
Digital, hardcover.
Sweet.
Yes, right. Either hold it in your hand. Some people prefer that.
That's awesome.
Or digital, but this is awesome. This has been great. So
Let's
thank
go over
you.
what we've learned.
Thank
We
you.
don't get on the back of ATVs anymore with strangers. We don't
Leave
leave our
our
phone in
phone.
the car.
That's another
And we
one.
don't take our teenage daughter and tell her and relieve her to be the one who knows where you are, because teenagers are highly unreliable for anything.
True.
Yes.
This is true too.
Yes.
And I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I will say this first house too. The newspaper wall print
Oh, I know.
was
I love that.
That's cool.
It looked like newspaper articles, and I don't know the wallpaper.
That's pretty cool.
It was. Did it have years on it or stories or
No.
anything like that? It
Well,
was just kind of.
It may have.
Yeah.
I honestly
It's cool.
didn't.
That's super
Just
awesome.
a lot of cool stuff going on
Yeah.
right there in that house. Goodness, Trish, thank you for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, stay warm.
You too.
And everybody play
Everybody's-
Abandon or Shithole
Yeah.
on your next road trip. Trish, thanks for coming in. Rate and review our podcast. It's Pat and JT. You can text us at 402-403-9478. Thanks for listening.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Hurrdat Media Production.